Hello and welcome to all people tuning in from all around Oceania and all around the world to the first webinar being hosted by the International Association of Youth and Students for Peace Oceania, or YSP Oceania, or just YSP Oceania for short. So the theme of today's session is the responsibility of youth in building a more peaceful Oceania. Now we have an excellent lineup of some very qualified speakers, followed by a little bit more of an interactive session later on for all of our viewers out there. So I hope you are excited as I am to meet the speakers and to hear what they have to say on the theme. So to start things off, we will be having a welcoming address given by the president of YSP Asia Pacific, Professor Richard Halipa. So a little bit of a background on Professor Halipa. He's attained a BS in accountancy in 2004. He's undertaken an internship with International Leadership Training Program based in Hayward, California from 2003 to 2007. And from 2011 to 2015, he worked as an associate lecturer at the South Asian Education Department of the Universal Peace Federation. And from 2016 to 2018, he worked primarily as a director for youth education at Family Federation for World Peace and Unification Asia Pacific. And in 2018, he was appointed as the first regional president for YSP in Asia Pacific. So without further ado, let us welcome up our Professor Richard Halipa to start off with our welcoming remarks.
Hello, everyone. A pleasant afternoon or a pleasant morning, depending to which time zone you are. So it is my pleasure representing the International Association of Youth and Students for Peace in Asia Pacific. It is my pleasure to welcome everyone, our distinguished panel of speakers and our organizers, and as well as all our viewers. Thank you for participating in today's very important webinar entitled The Responsibility of Youth in Building a More Peaceful Oceania. And I would like to share to you my welcome message. PowerPoint. Here we go. So welcome to YSP, and our vision is to become a global family of young people building a world of peace with true love. So this is the vision of YSP. And what is our mission? The mission of YSP is to advance world peace by empowering youth and students to become global citizens through character education and peace projects, supporting the United Nations and United Nations Sustainable Development Goals. And as maybe you have heard from the United Nations, they are coining the term global citizens. So we are really supporting the advancement of this kind of awareness. And similarly, we support the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals. And what are our values? As an organization, we value responsibility. We promote responsibility among the youth and students. And second, integrity. And third is service. And finally, empathy and feeling, the heart of other people. And with this, it is really my excitement to participate in today's webinar, the first ever YSP Oceania. And I'm really proud and grateful to the team of Oceania, led by our President Daniel Meadows of YSP Oceania, and of course, Mr. Amon. And of course, under the supervision of Mr. Yutaka Yamada. So it is my pleasure to be participating today. And one more time, everyone, welcome to the YSP Oceania webinar. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Professor Halipa, for those welcoming remarks. We will now hear some greetings from the Oceania chairman of one of our very close associate organizations, the Universal Peace Federation, and someone who the team here at YSP Oceania are working very closely with. So none other than Mr. Yutaka Yamada. So as a little bit of a background on Mr. Yamada, he's graduated from Sun Moon University with a Master's of Theology in 2014. From 2004 to 2008, he worked as a leader of youth and college students in Korea. In 2008 to 2013, he's worked as a district leader of Universal Peace Federation in the Philippines. In 2013 to 2019, he's worked as the national director of UPF in Malaysia, followed by, in 2019, being named as the chairman of Universal Peace Federation Oceania. So without further ado, let's welcome up Mr. Yutaka Yamada to give us some greetings.
Hey, thank you, Mr. Amon, to introduce me. So, good afternoon. Warm greeting to Mr. Koji Matsuda, President of Youth and Student for Peace International, to Professor Richard Halipa, President of Youth and Student for Peace Asian Pacific, to our respected speakers representing youth in Oceania nations, and to all our viewers. Good afternoon. It is my great pleasure to welcome you to this webinar of the International Association of Youth and Students for Peace Oceania. The theme for discussion today is the responsibility of youth in building a more peaceful Oceania. The world is currently facing an immense challenge brought about by the coronavirus pandemic. All nations and all people are affected by this through its impact on health, travel, social interaction, the economy, jobs, mental health, etc. This crisis, however, is not the only challenge we face. Some of the other major challenges now and into the future are expressed in the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals: overcoming poverty, hunger, inequalities, climate change, education, economic growth, justice, and infrastructure, to mention a few. Goal number 17 is to establish partnership to address the challenge effectively. Our youth are our future leaders, and they need to be equipped internally and externally to deal effectively with the challenges of this fast-changing world. Our world has become a global village where every nation and every part of the world is interdependent. No doubt our future leaders must embrace a global mindset where they think of others more than themselves. This is an essential prerequisite for the future peace, prosperity, and even survival of our world. Young people today will become business owners, educators, doctors, politicians, environmentalists, public service workers, etc. However, to bring about sustainable peace in our families, society, nations, and the world, we need leaders of strong moral character, as well leaders with diverse skills and external prowess. Our world is in desperate need of leaders who truly seek the benefit of others, even above themselves. We have excellent speakers today representing the youth of several different nations in Oceania. They will share with us their vision and insights on the theme of the webinar. We look forward very much to hearing from them today and to the discussion that follow. I would like to thank everyone for your attendance, and we look forward to your wholehearted participation in what I believe will be a highly informative and inspiring webinar. Thank you and God bless.
Thank you very much, Mr. Yamada, for those warm remarks. And thank you also for highlighting some of the challenges that young people in Oceania and around the world actually are facing. And what might YSP have to offer to present a solution to some of these challenges? Well, we have none other than our president of YSP International, President Koji Masuda, to be able to give his keynote speech, highlighting some of the ways that YSP can actually help to address some of these challenges that we are facing. So a little bit of background on President Matsuda first. So he's graduated in 1998 from the Department of Educational Psychology, Faculty of Education at Hiroshima University. In 1996, he has completed a master's degree in religious education at the Unification Theological Seminary, following which from 1996 to 2001, he's engaged in various service and educational programs in Jardim, Pantanal in Brazil. He has launched and managed service projects and character education programs for youth in 12 countries. He has also organized larger scale events, including multicultural exchange festivals in Tokyo from 2015 to 2018, and a global youth camp and youth festival for peace in Sao Tome and Principe in Africa in 2019, with over 40,000 young people in attendance. He was appointed as the president of YSP Japan in 2017, and by 2019, he was appointed as the international president of YSP. So we have a very qualified, amazing speaker with us today. And so without further ado, let us welcome up our President Koji Matsuda to give his keynote address.
Good afternoon. Konnichiwa. Distinguished speakers, leaders of youth and students, brothers and sisters, thank you for your attendance today. It is my great pleasure to participate in this online conference organized by YSP Oceania and have the opportunity to share what YSP is doing internationally. The message connects the theme of this webinar, the responsibility of youth in building a more peaceful Oceania. I'm a Japanese from Hiroshima. My grandfather was a survivor victim of the atomic bomb. Because he could survive, I am here to speak today. I have been thinking about how to create peace since my childhood, especially growing up in Hiroshima. When I was 18 years old, I met this peace movement that was promoted by Dr. Sam Myung-moon and Dr. Hak Ja-han Moon, who are the founder and whom we call Father and Mother Moon. I got answers and felt inspired by the vision and ideas of this movement and all its activities for peace. I would like to ask you one question. Who has the keys to the sustainable development of a nation? I think the answer is the youth. Mother Moon has emphasized that the youth are important for sustainable development of a nation. She has been traveling across the world to deliver a message of peace, and she truly loves and cares for people with a motherly heart, especially young people. The UN has long recognized that young people are a major human resource for development and key agents for social change, economic growth, and technological innovation. Mother Moon established Youth and Students for Peace 3 years ago. YSP was first inaugurated in Korea and Japan and has been launched in 48 nations so far. She expects YSP to raise bright youth and students to contribute to the society and the nation and the world. In Thailand, YSP Asia and Oceania region was launched in the UN ESCAP Hall in June 2017 in Bangkok in collaboration with the Universal Peace Federation. The chief guest and co-host were the Minister of Education, Government of Thailand, 2 other ministers of education, Cambodia and Sri Lanka, and over 1,200 guests from 35 nations attended. Building on this, in 2019, there were 53 programs in schools and universities throughout Thailand, and 14 MOUs were signed. In Oceania, YSP was launched in Australia, New Zealand, Palau, and Fiji. And I'm hoping more nations to launch YSP in Oceania. Last year, in December, YSP Asia and Oceania organized International Youth Assembly and Global Youth Camp in Palau. I could go there to prepare the programs. One of the speakers today, Mr. Hayden Sekley, President of Palau National Youth Council, helped to organize that program. YSP and the National Youth Council signed MOU to work together for Palau. I want to thank Mr. Hayden Sekley for supporting last year. The Global Youth Camp was held together with 33 youth from different schools in Palau and international youth and students on December 7th and 8th. 1 night and 2 days of fun with various activities such as coastal cleanup along beach, martial arts training, peace designers training, and character education inspired the youth to be empowered. One student in Balao Modenkingi School said, "This was the best workshop I had in my life." For me as well, it was a good experience. This Global Youth Camp was made possible through the close cooperation of the government of Palau, the Universal Peace Federation, and YSP. It was in preparation for the Asia Pacific First Ladies Summit 2019 in Palau. After this camp, the International Youth Assembly took place in the Culture Center in Palau on December 11 with the theme, "The Role of Youth in Creating a Culture of Peace." In attendance, there were over 700 youth and students from 14 different schools and organizations of the host nation Palau, as well as more than 100 international youth participants. This made history. It was the largest number of youth and students ever gathered in an inter-school assembly on the island. Participants recited the pledge of filial piety to strengthen their commitment to the cause of peace and become filial children to their parents and patriots in their nation. There were culture performances and a public speaking competition called Synergy. On the following day, the IYA event was featured in Tia Bilao, a widely read national newspaper in Palau. After this, several Pacific Island nations invited YSP to hold similar programs. The vision of YSP and the mission of YSP already Professor Rachel explained, so I'd like to pass. The initials of the YSP core values spell the word RISE: responsibility, integrity, service, and empathy. To become good leaders and global citizens, we emphasize the practice of these values. Many young people do not like the word responsibility, but if you think about good parents and successful leaders, they all have a responsible heart toward their family, society, and nation. Integrity means being honest. It means our words and actions are one, having unity between our mind and body, giving special importance to keeping sexual integrity. Service, which symbolizes living for the sake of others. It's the essence of happiness and creating a culture of peace. Empathy shows the importance of thinking of others, situations, and heart first, which is a necessary character trait when becoming a good person. To empower youth leaders, we promote the Peace Designer Seminar, which supports youth and students to create projects to solve social problems. In Japan, those who participated in a Peace Designer Seminar had led and promoted 95 projects in a year. YSP promotes character education and the creation of YSP clubs in schools. Teachers play a big role in making this possible. Students and teachers liked our program and gave good feedback. saying that many students changed their attitude toward their parents and friends after taking part in our activities. The Minister of Education in Thailand liked our program as well and commented, "It is also often said that knowledge is power, but I think that is probably wrong. Character is power." I am very pleased that your movement, your programs tap into the foundation of character that is love. The problem of modern education is that it focused too much on teaching how to be smart. But we need to create balanced education system by applying the basis of character education, which aim is to build an identity of integrity in the youth, a character that is willing to work on becoming a better person. Universal Declaration of Human Rights in the UN said that family is the natural and fundamental group unit of society and is entitled to protection by society and the state. There are lacking points in the actual education system, how to create a happy family. YSP as a program to empower youth includes in its activities study part and its practice. The study part is centered on character education. For example, the Peace Designer Seminar can help students to create service projects by themselves. And doing those service projects are part of that practice. Through the stimulation of studying and practicing they get in that environment, students can develop personalities and relationships filled with love because of the way they relate to the people around them. This way, they can develop important character traits, need to create a happy family and become good citizens. We promote synergy, which is a contest where students give their presentations. We started it in Japan and organized it in several countries. This year, we are planning to organize synergy in more than 20 countries to continue and expand this to more people. We are promoting programs for youth and students where they studied SDGs and create projects to support SDGs. We call these the peace projects. Participants present the projects they created in the synergy contest by introducing their thoughts and solutions about a specific problem they find in society. For example, in Indonesia, Japanese youth planted more than 5,500 trees in an area where there are no trees and grass. That was in 2008, and now the environment in that area has changed considerably, as you can see in the picture at the right bottom. Preservation of the environment of the sea is a serious issue for humanity and the living things in the sea, especially in Oceania. YSP is promoting seaside cleanup project to support SDGs in island nations. Ask not what your country can do for you. Ask what you can do for your country is a famous quote of President Kennedy. I had an opportunity to visit several nations, and from what I saw, I now strongly believe that the spirit of youth can make the future of a nation. Especially, I believe that a nation can develop more if that youth have a public mindset and wants to take responsibility with a challenging spirit. Even so, many nations are facing difficulties to educate young people, to show the vision, the importance of morality, the meaning of having a responsible heart. Many young people do not care for their nation and just think about their interests. The responsibility of youth in building a more peaceful Oceania is a theme of a webinar today. I would like to suggest 3 points that might be helpful to raise a responsible heart of youth, and in that way to build a more peaceful Oceania. First, I want to suggest that many countries in Oceania launch YSP and support students to create YSP clubs in each high school and college so that we can implement the character education programs in the school. In this way, we would be supporting students to create many service projects and therefore lead the culture of a nation to progress and become more peaceful. I believe YSP can contribute to youth and students in Oceania to find hope and vision in their lives. YSP aims to empower youth to commit to making healthy lifestyle choices, encouraging them to build good relationships both in their families and communities by living more for others than for themselves. This has enlightened youth regarding their essential role in peace and nation building. Second, I'd like to suggest making an international network of youth in Oceania where they can discuss how to create peace and contribute to the development of the nation. Today is a good opportunity to start. I hope you will continue such webinars where you invite youth leaders in Oceania to make a network and share the good activities that the youth is doing. Because of the pandemic of COVID-19, it is difficult to travel, but through online programs, we can discuss and work together even beyond nations more easily. Third, please practice our core values, RISE, responsibility, integrity, service, and empathy in every aspect of your daily life. By practicing these core values, you can develop your heart of responsibility and become a good leader in your school and community. If youth leaders with a good and public mindset increases in Oceania, I believe this region will develop and become more peaceful. I'd like to conclude my speech with a message of 3 peacemakers. Mahatma Gandhi said, "If you want to change the world, you should be a person starting the change." Mother Teresa believed that peace begins with my smile. When someone asked how to realize world peace, she answered, "First, go back home and love your family." Dr. Hak Ja Han Moon, Madam Moon mentioned in a speech, passion of youth can go beyond nationality and destroy the worlds. Those who have a challenging spirit are true youth. Public goal setting can overcome the difficulties and temptation for youth. She emphasized that the new peace civilization will start from the Pacific Rim. Everything starts with me and small actions. Peace starts with me and from us. The youth have keys for the sustainable development of the nation and Oceania. Today and here is the new start. Let us work together and cooperate by helping each other to build a more peaceful Oceania and to rise new peace civilization from the Pacific Rim. We can do that by empowering youth. May God bless Oceania and all of you. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, President Matsuda, for enlightening us all on YSP and also highlighting the fact that in order to create real, lasting, sustainable peace, rather than only equipping ourselves with the skills and knowledge necessary, actually equipping ourselves with the right values. And so I hope we can all keep in our minds the core values of YSP moving forward, RISE. And now we will have some input from our speakers at a more local level. So after all, we are hosting this Oceania webinar in Oceania. And so along with our international speakers, we have some very qualified, very exciting speakers from a few of the nations in Oceania. I know we couldn't represent all of the nations in Oceania, and I think to all of the viewers out there, I think people who are watching the chat, anyways, I'm looking at the chat, and it's quite exciting to see messages coming in from Solomon Islands, from Samoa. It really is representation from Oceania. Anyways, let's get into the next part of the session. So our first speaker, representing Australia today, he is actually the YSP president of YSP Oceania. And a little bit of a background on him, Mr. Daniel Meadows. He has been involved in the not-for-profit sector since 2009. In 2010, he studied Korean language at Sun Moon University. In 2015, he's graduated from the Raffles College of Design and Commerce with a Bachelor of Arts. In 2016, he became the director of Oceania Leadership Team and oversaw service projects in Fiji and the Solomon Islands. And in 2019, since 2019 rather, Daniel has taken on the role as the president of YSP Oceania, and he's taken part in the International Youth Assembly in Palau, as well as the Global Youth Camp and Synergy competition. So without further ado, I'd like to welcome up our speaker, Daniel.
Thank you very much, and good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for being here. So the theme of today is the responsibility of youth in building a more peaceful Oceania. So what is it when we talk about youth being responsible to build a peaceful nation? Young people are the future of each nation. I think in 20 or 30 years from now, a lot of the young people who are here today will be or could be leaders in their chosen field. Whatever it is that you are passionate about, whatever drives you, if you work hard and dedicate yourself for a decade, then you'll become an expert in that area. You'll be a leader in that area. But regardless of how much external knowledge or how much skill you gain as a leader in your community, you won't necessarily have the ability to bring peace unless you cultivate your character. So good character education is a very important quality that is becoming quite rare in society. In fact, in some places like Australia, there is almost no emphasis on building good character in our education system. Most emphasis is put on being intelligent and being clever and being smart. But what happens when you teach a bad person how to be clever? Do they suddenly become good? No, they use their intelligence to further do the wrong thing. This is why things like white-collar crime exists. Very smart, very intelligent people using their amazing abilities to commit crime. Before learning to be clever, we need to learn how to be good. There is a saying, you must have heard, money is the root of all evil. But actually, there's another saying that says, money isn't evil. Money helps good people do good things, and it helps evil people do evil things. Money, like your skills, are tools to do what is in your heart. Therefore, young people are responsible for the future of your nation. If you want a sustainable and peaceful nation, then you need to be creating that peace inside yourself by cultivating your good character and supporting others to do so. And that's what is the activity of YSP, to help facilitate education of good character in all the nations of the world, here in Oceania, but also every nation. Then real peace will have the opportunity to come when each person cares about the well-being of their neighbor before they concern themselves with their private well-being. So that is our hope, and I really think we have a great hope in Oceania to become all nations to be really peaceful, and for all nations to be really loving, and all communities to be peaceful and loving as well. So thank you very much, and please enjoy this webinar.
Thank you very much, Mr. Daniel, for that very powerful insight into how we might go about creating actually this sustainable and peaceful Oceania-wide community. So next we have a representative from New Zealand, but actually she herself, she has a Gannon and Cook Island background, so still representing as well Oceania on a wider level. So a little bit of background on our next speaker, Miss Ernestina Bonzo Maro. She has a bachelor's degree in communications and a strong background actually in communications and social media coordination. Since 2018, she's been a radio host for the Pacific Media Network Cook's Youth Show, which is a show for the Cook Island youth community. Since 2019, she's been working in the social media and marketing department of the Otahu Business Association. And she's also been highly active in the community, being a representative of Cook Islands and New Zealand in various sporting events in volleyball and netball, both at the national level in New Zealand, but also Oceania-wide. She's performed in various dance groups and even competed in the 2017 Miss Pacific Islands pageant, receiving 3rd runner-up for Miss Pacific Islands and 2nd runner-up for Miss Cook Islands. So I'm very excited to introduce her to you. And yeah, without further ado, let's welcome up our second speaker from New Zealand, Ernestina Bonzo Maro.
Awesome. Kia ora koutou katoa toa. Yes, you all can hear now. Apologies, audio from my end. I'll start again with God's blessing as well. Tukuki moa te vai matua, wanola kawe te tau diku diku, taia ke tō titi, taia ke tō take, tōku lakau mai puka puka, iye koko. 3rd time lucky. God is great. Greetings in the name of our Heavenly Father, and thank you so much for the opportunity to my brother Amon, to our President Kenji that's based here in New Zealand, to Auntie Ngā Lulia as well for the opportunity to spread love and light around our community, especially among our Oceania blessing of the Moana, our people of the Moana, and also the people of Oceania, but also in diversity of blessings of our community as well. I would just like to say, what a blessing to speak to in front of, but also among some amazing leaders. We just had President Daniel, but also before him, Kenji, and before that as well, a leader that was just specifying some of the initiatives that have been planted among our youth. And I just have to say, yes, we've gone through the COVID-19 situation, but that was a blessing as well. As many have been saying that it hasn't been a blessing, but I see this whole situation as a time for us to actually evolve around some real initiatives that have been happening within our community. And while being with the Universal Peace Federation as well, that I've just solely known from last year, the youth are powerful. As mentioned, I've just picked up some quotes from Kenji and Daniel that, you know, character is so important. And working among our youth, not just specifically around the Cook Island youth, the Pacific youth, but youth in general, is sometimes we lose track of that. And the values that I see with Universal Peace Federation as well, along with the youth society that we have here in New Zealand, is that we need to be more vocal about it and not lose track of what's happening in society around the protocols, the systems that are based in, I guess, a systematic way here in New Zealand, but also universally as well. Coming back to the basic norms of how do we treat everyone. Peace begins with us, of how we treat others. And I like to advocate to our youth that, you know, things are not complicated when you treat everyone with respect, and love and peace is so important. We need that in schools and society and work and sport and everything that we do. And I just feel that investing in values is so much important than investing in starting off with initiatives as well. So I support everything that's happening, and I have a few challenges that I've been addressing to our youth around character, but also with believing in themselves as well. One issue that is always compelling here in New Zealand around our Pacific youth is knowing that it's okay to fail. I feel that we don't address that enough. We put the point and we actually pinpoint the expectation of where youth need to be at. But when we start to value, and that's why I love this word of character that two of our great leaders have addressed, is character is so important. And valuing and respecting that is highly important as well. To be completely honest, here in New Zealand, we do value that, but it's not really valued at the peak where we should have it. I am a firm believer in the Bible, as we all are. If you're not, that's okay. I still agree that diversity is so important, but we need to come back to values. And that's one thing that's missing in our youth of today is the value of respecting the word. I hope I'm pushing that through radio, through social media, through sports, through everything that I'm doing. But striving for that love and light is the main core that I see with our youth. And then everything will just come to light. I feel that once we address that we need to value our youth around who they are in terms of character, that's where we will start making changes around initiatives. That's when we will start seeing a huge push in the way that we value and see our youth growing. And I just want to say, we have such great opportunities coming forth of our youth, but I feel the leaders in our system, when I'm saying systems, is who's controlling these pathways around education, around sport, around my media as well. And I just want to say thank you so much for giving the time. I know I have a limited time due to the beginnings of this speech, but I want to say I'm looking forward to working along with Amon and along with Kenji in terms of spreading love and light. And I feel that that is the power of today, is character, love and light, and investing into our youth. Thank you, Meitaki Ma'ata, and I hope to see you all face to face. But for now, in God's blessing, we shall see us virtually. Ka kite.
Thank you very much, Ms. Ernestina, for that. Really, I'm just so inspired. You know, like when I first met her last year, I was just so like overwhelmed with respect for how much love she has for the community, how active she is, and using her voice for positive change. And so, you know, I'm really so excited to have you on here, and equally excited to introduce the next speaker. So next we have our speaker representing Fiji. So to give a little bit of background on our next speaker, Mr. Shad Akbar, he is the president of the University of the South Pacific Indo-Fijian Student Association. He's currently studying in his third year of the Bachelor of Mechanical Engineering at the University of South Pacific, or USP. He's a federal council member of the USP Student Association, also a member of the USP Senate, president of the Fiji Muslim Youth Movement, Tamavua branch, also a national executive member of the Fiji Muslim Youth Movement, as well as a former executive of the National Youth Council of Fiji and the Youth Assembly of the Fiji Islands. So another very active person. And also currently the president/chairman of the YSP Fiji chapter. And so without further ado, let's welcome up our Mr. Shad Akbar to enlighten us. Thank you.
All right. Nisam Bula Vinaka to everyone listening in. Nisam Bula Vinaka is basically a greeting in the native Fijian language. It basically means basically wishing you all a good day. Yutaka-san, President Masuda, Professor Halipa, moderator Brother Amon, fellow panelists, and all our listeners around the world, warm greetings to each and every one of you. I don't think I can do much better in addressing today's theme, as well as those that have spoken before me, but I'll try to do my best and let you guys know what I feel the theme means to me from my perspective. Yeah. So to begin with, I think it is imperative that we realize the platform we hold as youth leaders or youth advocates or just young people in general. And once we realize this and the influence that we have over others, then I think then our responsibility towards them becomes a lot more clearer. I think to start with, it's let me get my notes right. It's imperative that we use this platform to ensure that inclusion among across all platforms for youth. So inclusion in the sense of not only addressing issues of disability or inclusion across people of different locations, but like inclusion in the sense that I want to know what the shy guy at the back of the room wants to say, or I want to know what the quiet girl who's sitting in the third row is thinking or wants to address, right? So inclusion along all aspects of youth development. And then after that, I think everyone has done a good job in explaining how essential it is to use this platform to also spread the message of Yojong. We have the idea of living for the sake of others embedded in our minds. Peace will be inevitable and a direct result of our actions. To add on to that, what we are doing at the moment to address the theme in Fiji, we have tried to emulate the peace designer and synergy peace projects for the regional students at USP, which is the regional university in the South Pacific. This involves youth from over 40 countries, as well as other national backgrounds. And the project entails weekly character education seminars at our headquarters in Suva, as a precursor to help them formulate ideas towards a peace designer project, which we will assess and rank for awards on the 12th of August when we commemorate UN Youth Day here in Suva. So the awards for the competition are a motivation in itself for people to participate. But I think more than that, it shows them that this is their time to take ownership of the ideas, or the idea rather, of world peace that begins essentially from them, or from youth. So yeah, that's basically all I have. Mind my third speech, but yeah, that's all I have in terms of what we can do, as well as what we are trying to do here at the local or regional level. I hope it's given us all some direction as to where we should be heading, and I hope that the next part of this event brings about more fruitful discussions was today. So yeah, thank you all for listening, and ciao.
Thank you very much, Mr. Shad, for highlighting once again the importance of character and values. And also, I like your point about ownership. You know, that's definitely something that isn't talked about enough amongst young people. And this is why it's so exciting to be here with this kind of youth webinar with young people actually speaking up about these things. And so finally, last but not least, we have a speaker from the nation of Palau. So even for some of us in Oceania, it might be difficult to know where Palau is, because for me, when I first heard about this country, I was like, where's this? But I had the opportunity to be there last year and actually meet this person. So Mr. Hayden Sekley, a little bit of a background on him. He has a strong background in youth and community engagement. He has attended a number of World Youth Conferences, forums, camps, and events since 2008. Since 2015, he has worked for the Ministry of Community and Cultural Affairs of Palau as a special assistant to the minister. And he was also one of the founding members of the Palau National Youth Council, organizing and coordinating various events for youth. And in 2019, he's worked with YSP Oceania and Asia Pacific in order to organize both the Global Youth Camp and the International Youth Assembly, as President Matsuda was talking about, which actually led to one of, if not the largest gathering of young people in the entire nation's history. So what about that, huh? Anyway, so it's my pleasure to welcome Mr. Hayden Sekley. So without further ado, take it away.
Thank you very much, Brother Amon. It was so nice having you guys over here in Palau. We all miss you. I'm sure you miss Palau too. Just Ali and greetings from Palau. Would just like to first recognize President Kochi Matsuda, Professor Halipa, Mr. Yamada, and President Daniel. Also to YSP for hosting this webinar, and those of you who are involved in the technical support and all other support. So I was just asked to share some of the experiences that we've had here in Palau in terms of you know, the work towards building peace here in Oceania and in the world. We had a wonderful experience with the IYA, the launching of the IYA here in Palau. We were so, all the youth were really happy, and they really enjoyed the activities that that were done here in Palau. Like what President Matsuda said, one of the students from Bela Moloknge school really acknowledged that this was one of the best workshops they attended. And I'm sure all the other youths who attended the workshops and the launching and all the activities. Really enjoyed them, and they're hoping that there could be more activities that involve the IYA and YSP and all the good things that they brought. So Palau, as I mentioned earlier, I first logged in, Brother Amon wanted to know what was the situation here in Palau in terms of the current pandemic that the world is facing. Right now, we're still on lockdown, and so our borders are closed. There are no flights, at least regularly. The only regular flight that comes in is the flight that collects mail, drops off mail, and collects the outgoing mail to be sent out, and that comes in from Guam, and so that's the only flight that we have. And then other flights that we have are special chartered flights that are repatriating our students who have been studying abroad or citizens who have gone abroad during the pandemic and didn't make it on the last flight in. Also, we have some of our citizens have been seeking medical care abroad, and we're trying to get everybody in. So there are special charter flights that we schedule and to repatriate our citizens who are abroad and are wanting to come back home. So that's the current situation with our what we're doing in terms of the pandemic. And we're actually, this is, we take it as like a blessing in disguise. Of course, the Lord gives us what we can handle. So for Palau, we're a very small country of 20,000 people. And I'm sure if, you know, this virus spreads here in Palau, that might be it for us. I mean, we are not, I guess, fairly advanced in the world of medicine technology, and so if this pandemic does spread out here in Palau, we'll be wiped out, so to speak. But it's given us the opportunity to assess, you know, what we're currently doing, all the programs and activities that are ongoing, and what we can do to improve. Our country is booming with construction, because that's one thing that's that we can do to keep the economy going. Of course, we've our bread and butter, our main source of income as a country, as a nation, is the tourism industry, and this current pandemic has taken its toll on the tourism industry, because since all like our borders are closed, there are no tourists. All the tourist industry has you know, has gone down, but we've had assistance from various countries that have helped us cope with the effects of this pandemic. So you know, we're like everybody else, we share the same sympathies for those who we have lost during this pandemic, but we also are glad we can use this time to improve ourselves and move forward. In light of the theme of this webinar, the responsibility of the youth in building a more peaceful Oceania, Palau is committed, and we had committed when the IYA and the YSP came to Palau. we committed to work with them, work together with all the other youth in Oceania, and to build a more peaceful Oceania in, the little things that we do, small projects that we try to implement to help raise awareness and bring more peace here in the region of Oceania. So I don't have that much to say, unlike the other speakers. I just wanted to join and see what this webinar is all about, and what we can contribute to build a more peaceful Oceania. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Hayden Sekley, for your insight and input actually from the nation of Palau. It's often not easy to hear what's happening in some of the smaller nations in Oceania, but as all of us can observe, you've got this passion and drive to really contribute to the youth of the nation. And so that's something that we can all appreciate and actually use this platform to be able to bounce ideas off each other and really be able to work together, because Oceania is, building a peaceful Oceania is a collective effort. So thank you once again, Mr. Hayden Sekley. And yes, thank you to all of the speakers that have spoken so far. Sorry we have gone a little bit over time. Also sorry about these technical issues that we're trying to work with. Again, this is the first time for us to be running this type of webinar, but I hope you are still just as excited as we are about what's going on. And so, yeah, basically that comes to the end of the first segment, which is the speakers. And now we have come to the more interactive part of the webinar. And so this is the chance actually for our participants who are attending the normal attendance. If you would like to ask any questions with regard to any of the things that you've heard so far, or even any ideas and anything that you were inspired by from the speakers today. And we will go to gallery view so that you can see the lovely faces of our speakers. And if not, while we're waiting for some of these questions to come in, if any, also had a question that I wanted to ask to some of the speakers, but also to our participants. And one thing that has come up recently, or especially with the themes that we've talked about this time, is the importance of having the voice and actually using the voice of the young people to actually bring about change in society. And so this is some question that I wanted to ask to all of our participants via poll and also to our panelists. So you should be able to see that on your screens now. Questions about youth engagement. So this is an opportunity for our attendants now to be able to answer these questions, what you feel and how you think that might apply to you. And so actually, I wanted to start this conversation now because I know, actually, Mr. Hayden, we talked about this a little bit in Palau when I was over there. It's quite difficult to engage young people or to get them to be interested in these activities. What are your thoughts on how things have been so far with respect to this question? Sorry to put you on the spot there.
Yeah. No, actually, so I guess it really depends on what, the activity that you're doing, because I noticed that when you guys came down and you really went out, reached out to the youth and talked to them about these activities, told them like what they entail and sort of gave them like a bit of training, especially for example, the synergy. They were excited. It was actually my first time to see our young people participate in something like that, and they all did really well. I actually know two of the speakers who I think they placed second and third in the synergy. contest, and they did really well, and all the other students and youth who attended were really excited. And I guess it really depends on the activity that you're doing, and really reaching out to them, and getting them interested in what you're doing. Yeah.
Yeah, because for me it seemed as well that like upon just talking about it, it was a little bit of excitement, but not so much kind of, like they're just like, oh yeah, that sounds cool. But then when they're actually there, when people are actually present at these events, when they're actually engaged fully, that's when you see their eyes light up, and this kind of level of excitement. And I mean, that's kind of what we're hoping to do here with our activities in YSP, and hopefully with this webinar as well, we can be able to start that kind of conversation. Do we have any comments or further kind of parts from any of our other panelists or other guest speakers from today? What is your take on youth engagement? What's one way that you feel we could actually be able to engage our youth and get them to be more interested in talking about these sorts of things? Yes, Ernestina?
Yes, Brother Amon, I just wanted to add on to, just double checking, can everyone hear?
Yeah.
Great. I just want to add on that social media plays a huge factor as to how everyone is connected along with our youth, but also now we're communicating virtually in some countries and in some of our communities. So I think just to add on to what Hayden was saying, we can do things online, and that's what we've been doing along with radio from my perspective. And I think we can connect with youth from a virtual perspective, but also staying engaged with them on social media platforms, just via Instagram, Twitter. Everyone's connected on TikTok, so you can still send messages and still advocate to our youth while using social media platforms. And I'd love to connect with some of you all from different countries as well, to stay connected via radio, which is my main source that I use to connect with our youth. And it'll be great to get more from the communities overseas as well, because we're just based around our Pacific nations, but it'll be great to get more of a diverse range of our stories out and more outside perspective. Yeah.
Thank you very much, Tina. Yeah, I mean, especially with the coming age, with young people, social media is everything. I mean, I feel like I'm kind of behind because I barely know how to use Facebook and YouTube and stuff. But it's definitely an important tool to be looked at moving forward. So actually, we have another question from one of our panel participants. Sorry. How can we sustain the local youth activities with the goal to come together regionally in our area? So maybe I can put that question forward to some of our YSP representatives. Perhaps Daniel, would you like to share some insights on that question? I'll just repeat it for you again. How can we sustain the local youth activities with the goal to come together regionally in our area? Could give you a couple minutes to think about it, or if Mr. Shad, if you have any...
I didn't hear. Amon, you cut out there.
I cut out. Oh, okay, sorry. So how can we sustain the local youth activities with the goal to come together regionally in our area?
Yeah, that's the $1 million question, isn't it? Yeah. So sustaining youth activities in our region is, I think it takes, once youth, again, like referring back to Palau, which Mr. Hayden and yourself spoke about, is what we saw, what I saw there that was really inspiring is that these students, as you said, they weren't, when we spoke to them about it, they weren't that inspired initially, but once they got together and started doing it, then they were on fire. And as Hayden said at the end of it, like, they were saying that was some of the best workshops that I've ever been to. I'm still in contact with at least one other young man from Palau who's keeps, you know, saying to me, "Oh, when are you guys going to come back?" You know, this kind of thing. So I think that once the youth get a taste of it, once they start to see, this is, you know, I actually do have a lot of ability and I do have a lot to offer to my community and my nation, then I think that's where the drive will come, the passion of the youth. So that's why I feel a lot of hope in Oceania, because I haven't been to every nation yet, hopefully will, but the ones that I've been to, they've got a lot of young people who have so much talent and so much ability, but just don't have anything, you know, to focus it on, to really, you know, keep the drive happening. So that's perhaps what I really hope with why to really allow these young people to take a lot of responsibility, a lot of ownership, and really flourish as young people in Oceania. So yeah.
Yeah, thank you very much, Daniel, for that insight. You know, it's really important that we actually let young people feel that they do have a say and have an ability to make a difference. Mr. Shad, do you have anything that you'd like to add on to that? You know, in terms of what activities that you have in mind for perhaps YSP in Fiji?
Hi, I think just to add on to what Daniel was saying about having youth take ownership. What we did last year for UN Youth Day, we tried organizing 2 programs. One was a volleyball competition for regional students. So like we had the 14 member countries I was talking about, we had a team from each member country come in and participate. And then we had this cultural night where we asked each cultural group to, you know, exhibit the culture of the nation. So they did it through dance, through songs, through plays, etc. And so when we have something like that, it's easier to get the youth going. And then in our cultural night, we had a speech which was delivered by Yutaka-san, and through that, the youth here felt that I don't know, they were really empowered by his speech, right? And then we had a gap. We had a gap for I think about 9-10 months. Part of it was due to the COVID situation as well. And then this year, when we're trying to organize things for our character building programs and the Peace Designer program, it's a bit more difficult to get in touch with them or get them to get back on track with what we're trying to do. So I think consistency is also a big part in getting them to, you know, actively keep participating. Because as soon as there's a drop in communication or you know, there's a lack of events, they sort of fade away and go back into their shells, and it's difficult to get them out again. But if there's consistently programs going on or seminars happening, etc., like they feel that they're more involved, yeah, and it's easier to carry on, yeah. So yeah, that's basically all I have to say.
Thank you very much, Mr. Shad. Yeah, that's a really good point, you know, continuous engagement. And that's something that perhaps we need to work on here at YSP Oceania, but that's definitely something that we really want to achieve moving forward. And hopefully with the help of everyone here, we can be able to do that. Do we have any further comments from any of our regional and international leaders, whether President Matsuda, Professor Halipa, or even Mr. Yamada, if you have anything you'd like to add to what's been put on the table so far?
Just a short comment from me. Yeah, I really am happy that we're able to convene this time. So with regards to the sustainability, talking about sustainability, yeah, it's very important that in order to sustain our youth activities, we have to empower the young people. The reason why youth activities cannot be sustained is because it's more like the relationship between the organizers and the, you know, and the participants are like more like onlooker, you know, kind of a onlooker system. So we, you know, the organizers come and kind of create something, and then when they're gone, and then somehow doesn't settle down. It slowly dissipates, disappear, and eventually forget you. So that's why it's very important that we focus on the mission of the IAYSP. The mission is very clear that our goal is to empower the youth and the students, and to empower them not only to do something for their own local activities, but to empower them with the hope that their perspective will change. They will become not only a citizen of their country, not only as as Oceania, citizen of Oceania or something like that, but as a global citizen, as an earthling, as a human being, because nowadays we're talking about climate. Climate doesn't affect only one country or one region. Climate is a global. So to solve the problem of global climate, that we need global citizens to act on it. And especially for Oceania, this is a key region in the Pacific, and protecting the ocean, and as well as I really love. I'm really inspired with Palau. I'm really inspired, honestly, when I arrived in Palau, and then in the visa form, in the visa stamp, it's there. How to preserve the nature. It really emphasize the environment, and I really love how the government of Palau, puts a lot of emphasis and love for nature, something like this. And so I really appreciate it. And so we want also that this kind of wave or this kind of mindset will not be only in one country or one region, but become eventually global. Should be natural, should start. That's why it's very important that in IAYSP we focus in character education, because it should start from the heart. Young people should be transformed in their character, and they start to take ownership, and they start to settle down to all their activities, their projects, and especially supporting the United Nations. These projects supporting the United Nations, because in the SDG, we cannot achieve SDG by only political means. We need grassroots. We need people to take responsibility in their own communities and throughout the world. Based on our studies so far and research, if the world has no human beings, there won't be any problem. So humans are the creators of problems, and I believe, and I have this belief that human beings, if they are educated with centering on the character, if they have the character education, I believe that human beings can transform and turn around, and instead of becoming a problem, can start to become a solution. And naturally, I believe that with character education, the whole Oceania region can unite and can participate and collaborate and can work together. We can break through barriers, and we can break through, all this kind of, now in America, we're facing racial problem, this kind of black and white and this and all this issue of colors and whatnot, or maybe social classes. These are all, symptoms of a, lack of character education. So yes, I really want to go back to our IAYSP mission statement that we want to empower young people through character education. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Professor Richel, once again for further comments and really emphasizing the key points of why we are gathered here today. Actually, we are going a little bit over time, and so I am thinking to move on. Basically, we're coming now to a close. Thank you once again to all of our speakers, and of course to all of our participants for tuning in and for all of your input. One thing actually I wanted to share was the poll results. So thanks to all the participants who were sharing what they thought. So you should be able to see on your screen now what people have answered to some of these questions. So first, how engaged do you believe young people in your country to be in societal and community development. So it's actually good news here. We believe that people are somewhat involved and engaged, perhaps not fully highly engaged and willing to speak out, but there is some level of interest there, you know, rather than having almost no interest. And then the next question here, how easy do you feel is it for young people to express their views on societal and community development? And so this is where it becomes a little bit more interesting. There are some people who are thinking that it's quite easy for young people to speak out, but then there's also actually majority is relatively difficult. So this is something that hopefully we can address by having more of these webinars, more of these events, more of what some people have highlighted as well, sporting events, cultural events, music events that young people can make themselves a part of and use that as the platform, use that as the way that we can have our voices heard and actually be more actively engaged in our communities. So thank you everyone who contributed to the polls. That was some very interesting results. Sorry for the people on Facebook, you might not be able to see it. So I will stop that polling now. And yeah, so once again, thank you all for coming. Thank you all for logging in. I know it has gone a little bit over time, and yeah, sorry about the technical issues as well that we're trying to work through. Yeah, before we go, there's a few things I wanted to share. So firstly, if you haven't already, please like and follow the YSP Asia Pacific Facebook page. We're still working on one for the Oceania level. Hopefully we can have that up and running in the next couple of weeks, or at least in the near future. Whoops. I've just put down the link to the Facebook page, sorry, that did it again. Facebook page for YSP Asia Pacific. Please like and follow that one. Stay tuned for more, and also for more from Oceania. Next, please take some time to fill this evaluation form. So we've prepared an evaluation form for all of the participants and attendees. If you can take a few minutes, I've just put the link in the chat box, and I'll send the link perhaps later to the Facebook, maybe if someone can forward that onwards. Yeah, please take some time to fill in this evaluation form. It'll really help us to produce better content and maybe organize some more webinars on perhaps more regular interval, sorry. And yeah, like I hope it was as exciting as it was for us, for you guys to really be able to make yourselves a part of this kind of new YSP Oceania platform. And so with that out of the way, thank you all once again for coming. Thank you so much for all of your time, for all of the speakers, for all of the people who are present here this afternoon. And yeah, on behalf of the team at YSP Oceania, we hope to see you next time, and we wish you all a lovely rest of your weekend. Thank you and God bless.
Stay safe. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Amon. Thank you, team.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.